So a few years back, well, it could be a lot of years back. I was in lower primary, um, between 2001 and 2003, most likely 2001. Um, I took a pair of my shoes, and you know how kids' shoes usually have straps to hold the leg. Usually I had one of those pairs, and then I decided I want a fancier shoe. I want like a sandal, one that doesn't have straps at the back holding my leg, because that is what I'm seeing my aunties wearing. So I decide to cut those straps, so that I can just have a shoe in which that just slide my leg into. And I did that on Saturday. And so on Sunday morning I wake up, my mom bathes me, I get dressed, and then I put on my stockings, and then I went and took my shoes and put them on, and I thought they were looking so cute. So I went to my mom and I told her, Mom, look at how what I did to my shoes. Don't they look just nice? So I didn't see any a change of facial expression on my mom's face, which is how we communicate in our, you know, in our household. Everyone has strong facial expressions, so you will know when someone is mad, when someone is okay, when someone is happy, when someone is sad, that kind of thing. So I didn't see any change in the facial expression of my mom. So I thought, we are cool. So I saw my mom walk out. Then a few minutes later, the woman comes with like these sticks, and I knew that at that very moment my life was just over. So my mom comes back into the house, grabs me by the hand, and beats me beats me so much. I actually thought she's not my mom anymore. So she didn't even say much. And then, because the sticks were not dried up, they formed these green marks on my stockings. And so my mom tells me, you're not even going to change your stockings. You're going to go with the same shoes and those same stockings, which have marks of how much she has beaten the sense into me. I'm going to go with them to church. I remember ever since that day, I knew that anything that my mom has bought, I have no right at all whatsoever to use my scissors or anything sharp to do any changes to to anything. You cannot alter anything unless your mom has decided that. Like, it is even funny, in high school I used to see, you know my fellow schoolmates, they would adjust their skirts, the sizes of the skirt. Me, if my skirt is baggy, I am going to wear that skirt baggy. I am not cutting it, because I know the spirit that got into my mother that day, it could just get into her in this day and age, and she doesn't care if I have grown into a high school girl. She will beat she will just beat me. Okay, so now let's talk about discipline, African mothers, and a good teacher, all in one. So welcome back, everyone. This is Philomena. If you're new here, karibu sana. This is being Ilomik, and today we are proceeding with this is actually the last week of this series my mama taught me, and we're on the last lesson, which is discipline. Now, if you come from an African household, you probably do understand this word very much, because your mother has tried as much as she can to instill this in you, and then it is even worse if your mom is also a teacher, like in my case. She will just instill discipline on another level. It is very extra for African mothers who are teachers. I don't know what happens, but they're just very extra with disciplining their kids. So anyway, so growing up, I knew that there are things that I should do and things that I should not do. And that was either taught to me the easy way, which is, talked sense into, told, this is wrong, this is bad. And then the other way is the hard way, where you are beaten like the universe is going to end at this very moment. The sense is beaten into you. There there was no area in my life that my mother was not involved in to ensure that I have some sense of discipline in that, whether it is going to church and matters of faith. Discipline there. You go to church. If the Sunday school teacher reports that you are playing during Sunday school teachings, yeah, punishment. If it is school, make sure that you do your homework, make sure that you respect your teachers, make sure that you listen to them. Whether it was in relating with other people socially, respect your elders, be careful when you're dealing with other kids as you play. Be careful with other people's property. Do not destroy other people's property. Excuse people, say thank you, those kind of things. I remember that from the moment when I could understand things, I knew that I was either being corrected to have either one bad habit removed, or just instilling one more good habit in me. And she was hands-on on that. And I know we can speak and speak and speak about how our moms have used different ways, some of which at that moment we thought were unfair or over the board, or was it that necessary? But in one way or another, they taught us how to be disciplined, how to have discipline in all areas of our lives. And I think I'm really grateful to my mom for um for really showing me that discipline is not something that you acquire just because you've been born by a teacher, or just because you've been born out of an African home, or just because you went to school, or just because maybe you went to the best schools in the county, or whatever. It is something that you practice, that you uh do on a day-to-day basis. It is something that you actually learn. It is a habit that you learn, and there's no learning on one day. There's learning over time, and practicing and practicing, and making sure that even when no one is watching, even when mom is not watching, even when no one is watching, there's um no one really at my back monitoring everything that I have to do. I have to be disciplined, even just for myself. And which is why it has been very important for me to also just try and have self-discipline and practice it in every area of my life. When no one is watching, when it is just me, and just to make myself happy, or just to make myself achieve something that I want to achieve, or just make sure that I have a happier life, and that it is not easier for me to make decisions because I have practiced over time to do things in the right way, or to just do things not out of emotion, or out of you know um it has to be done, or not, like not being forced to do the right things because you are being forced to do, but because it has become such a routine. Yes, it has become such a routine, and you don't have to wait for your emotions or anything else to watch over that and to make you do that thing that is good for you, that is good for maybe your relationships, that is good for your faith, that is good for maybe your eating habits, that is good for your health, and all these things. Just do it because it is the right thing to do, and because you've practiced it over and over. And so you know, it's like every lesson that I have learned from my mom, I could always say that this is the biggest lesson that I learned from her, because in one way or another that lesson helps me, or I have noticed that it is helping me to either become a better person, or to just do better in my life and become a better person. But the one thing that governs all the other lessons, all the other parts of my life, whether it's my faith, which was the first lesson that we did, or whether it is with how I do my, with how I care for my body, which is the third lesson that we learned, or whether it is with my relationships with people all around me and in the society, the one thing that governs all of them is discipline. That I have got to have discipline, and just not just because mom said so, but because it makes me a better person. It makes me make decisions a little bit better. It makes me also, it makes it easier for me to do things, because it's like I'm operating from an autopilot, because maybe these things have become such a routine, and therefore doing them doesn't feel as hard as it would be for someone who doesn't have self-discipline. So that was the final lesson in this series my mama taught me. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, mom, for teaching me all these lessons, and the ones that I did not get to share, maybe I'll get to share them at some other point. But also thank you so much for watching and for hanging on during this series. And as we usher in a new month, the next video will be in a new month. I'll come back with something else, something new, something interesting, hopefully that you will love. And I hope that you enjoyed this series as much as I have. So see you next week, and God bless you so much. I pray that you have discipline in your life, and that you get an opportunity in which you remove the bad habits and get to, improve or get better habits flowing in your life. So see you next week. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications and like. And if you like this video, share it with your friends. See you next week. Again, see you next week. And again, see you next week. Bye bye. Love you, darlings. Bye.